Today on the program, more nullified elections in 2015, more than the years 2007 and 2011 put together. That's according to the INEC chairman, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu. It takes our attention on the program tonight. A warm welcome to everyone, wherever you're watching. This is your daily edition of Politics Today here on Channels Television, the nation's news leader. I'm Sheon Okinbaloye. The 2015 election is no doubt one of Nigeria's most keenly contested polls, but it has come as one with a record of the most annulments compared to the year 2007 and 2011 put together. According to the INEC chairman, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, it says a total of 54 elections for a period between 2007 and 2011 were nullified by the courts. But for the 2015 election, so far, he says 81 elections have been nullified, which is more than the two previous years' elections we've talked about. Well, more revealing statistics on the annulment of elections in Nigeria. Of course, tonight we'll be talking about Nigeria's election and how we can take it to the next level. Let me show you what exactly was what we experienced in 2015. Don't forget, in 2015, INEC says no permanent voter cards, no voting. That was the verdict of the INEC chairman then at the board, where they says that permanent voter cards will be very important for voting. In 2011, it was the temporary voter cards that were used. But from there, the temporary voter cards were replaced at an exercise where PVCs were distributed across the nation. Close to the election, well over 60% of permanent voter cards were given to Nigerians, preparing them for the general elections in 2015. And of course, then INEC introduced what they call the card reader devices that were used for accreditation and biometrics. That also was tested, and thereafter it was deployed for most of the elections in 2015, starting from February. And of course, from there, the election came. You remember that election was postponed for 6 weeks, and when it held, a lot of discussion on how the elections in Nigeria will be well taken care of. Of course, INEC will now conduct 78 rerun elections in 2016. And of course, the rerun elections is expected to hold within 90 days. That's according to what the court is saying. And rerun elections, of course, most of the verdicts were given in December 2015. Let's say break it down further for you to understand. There are, out of these all rerun elections, 10 of them are 10 senatorial elections, 12 state constituency elections, 37 state assembly elections, 17 federal constituency elections, and there we have 2 governorship rerun election. Well, that's subject to the verdict of the Supreme Court. Well, the INEC chairman has been holding several meetings with stakeholders from his resident electoral commissioners across the several states of the Federation, to media, journalists, and of course political parties, and he's been talking about how the elections will be improved in Nigeria. Let's hear him on the issue of the permanent voter cards. Then we come back.
Free, fair, credible elections can best be guaranteed with appropriate deployment of technology. This is the experience of 2015, adjudged to be the best election ever conducted in the history of this country. I've said it over and over and over that This commission will not experiment, will rather consolidate. Technology has come to stay. Not only will the PVCs and the card readers remain, but we are going to go a step higher to see if we can also deploy technology for collation and transmission of results, so that we make the processes between the conclusion of elections at the polling units and the counting of the final tally at the collation center speedy and even more accurate and technology-driven.
That's the INEC chairman there, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu. Let me show you some more graphics here. You can make sense of about the Nigerian elections. Of course, we are assessing and reviewing the 2015 general elections. And now, take a look at the elections and some of the petitions. I'll take you through from 2007, 2011, and 2015. We give you a graphical illustration of how those elections went down, and of course the petitions that came with those elections. In 2007, there were 1,290 petitions, and in 2011, 732 petitions, and in 2015, 611 petitions. What about nullified elections? Let's take a look at what the nullified elections, of course, when there are petitions and eventually the cases we go to court, and eventually what happened is either it's nullified or it's upheld. But look at it. In 2007, there were 20 nullified elections. In 2011, there were 34 nullified elections, and in 2015, 81. So if you look at those figures there, 2007, 2011 put together 54 nullified elections. Only in 2015. So far, some other cases are still in court. So far, 81 elections have been nullified. More than those 2 years put together. Let's make more sense about all of these matter. Let me bring in the director of Electoral Education and Publicity at INEC, Mr.